tell us first about how you got into the martial arts, because we got somewhat from a bullying situation. You got into it. Tell us about it, man.
I grew up in Honolulu, Hawaii, and that's where I grew up. And I don't know if you know it or not, but they do not like white people.
White people.
They do not like.
Back in the
Growing up
day.
there, I grew up with blonde hair there, and it's ugly. It was ugly. I had a terrible childhood, I would say. But one day, I just said, I'm gonna go train. My parents didn't have much to do with it. I just looked in the yellow pages, and I saw the coolest logo, and I called it. And then I caught the bus there at about 10 years old. And as soon as I walked in the door to this probably a 600 square foot room with a heavy bag and a makiwara, I just knew this was my life forever and ever. And I started training with a guy who was, he just got out of prison. And to be honest, he went back a couple times while I was training with him. He had a really rough reputation. His name was Walter Godin. But he was my instructor, and I was with him from that day until the day he died in 2001. And this was 1970, so I was with him for 31 years. He passed away, but he was a very rough, just like like Miyagi. He was like the what do you call the snake guys, the dojo guys,
Yeah.
the bad guys in Karate Kid.
The Cobra Kai.
The Cobra Kai guys. he was like their instructor, only like 10 times worse. He was just like, I mean, he was just a bad. He had some. I mean, he had a different idea of what you should do, and like if someone beeped the horn at him, if the light turned green, he would get out of the car and beat the shit out of him. I mean, he's just not a nice person, but he trained me, and he taught me how to be tough, and he because of him, I never got bullied again, ever again, and he changed my life, and martial arts, I wanted to take out the kind of the bad things he did and bring in the good things he did, and I try to live my life like that now. Never let anyone take your lunch money. Never start a fight, but always hit first. I mean, so I have some, I try to keep it that way, and I grew up that way. And then, I started doing karate tournaments. Then I started boxing, and then, I won the Golden Gloves. And next thing you know, they had this no holds barred tournament in Hawaii, and I entered that, and then I joined the Army, and I don't know. So I got out of the Army. I had a few more kickboxing matches. And then I kind of started training people, and then all of a sudden some guy came in my gym, we had a fight, and next thing I know I'm training him, and then next thing I know we're on a plane, a private jet to Japan. That's Chuck Liddell, obviously, and it just went from there. So now I'm the trainer guy and not the fighter guy anymore.
Was there any one fight when you were a kid that bullied where you
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
It changed. I went to a rough school. There wasn't many kids that looked like me with the blonde hair and the light skin. And some guy, his name was Daryl Teixeira, and just weird that my number one fighter now, his name is Glover Teixeira. He's the number one light heavyweight in the world. But anyway, Daryl, in front of everyone, said, "Give me your lunch," and that's what they do. They take your lunch money. It was a quarter back then. So he's like, "Hey, Howley," they call white people Howleys. "Hey, Howley, give me your lunch money." And I said no. And next thing you know, we got into a fight. And this guy was the big, tough guy at school. And I beat him up in front of everybody. And that changed everything for the rest of my life. I never got bullied again. I never get picked on again. I never gave anyone my lunch money again. And it was all because of Daryl Teixeira and that one fight. Wow. That one fight changed everything. It made me want to fight more. That's when I started, training more for combative, competitions and stuff like that. Even as an adult, it changed everything. You know, eye contact. I walk into a bar or a club or a party, I never kind of look down, and I'm never intimidated. And that's what martial arts does. So that's how it started, and that's where it is now. You know, I'm just a karate guy. I own a gym in my town, and then I have a few more around. Like there's a pit in Malibu. There's like 3 pits here in our county. There's one. You know, there's some around. Glover Teixeira has one in Connecticut, actually.
Wow.
But
wow.
So now I pass the torch to my younger fighters.
We have the same kind of story, because what I read was it was in the cafeteria that you stood up to the guy, right?
Yeah.
And mine was in the locker room when I stood up to my bully. And when I read it, it was like, you never were bullied again. And I went, son of a bitch. It's identical. I was in the locker room. All these guys, bully comes up to me, pushes me, calls me a pussy. He says, Trimble, you ain't shit. You think you know karate? Pushes me again, and I'm praying, going, no, I don't want to fight. No. He pushed me again, and I just went off. I went off, and bang. After that, everyone pulled us apart. And after that, I was never bullied again. And when I read that, your story, I went, wow, man, it's like the same damn thing. Yeah, never bullied again. And then, you know, after that, yeah, it was
crazy.
Experience. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. Got into the martial arts 14, got beat up at 11, 12, 13, and saw Bruce Lee, and I was like, yeah. I ran away from home. I ran away from home. Never ran away from home before. Walking through the streets, not trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do, and I caught myself standing in front of the movie theater, and that was it. And I decided, okay, fuck it, I'm not going to run away. I'm going to watch this movie. And then after that, I was inspired. Went home, asked my dad, and he said no.
Bruce Lee, which one?
What's that? Chinese Connection. Fist of Fury. Yeah.
That's because my Bruce Lee, and probably the same with Manny, my Bruce Lee, favorite Bruce Lee movie was Rocky. I mean, the same era, you know, it did the same thing to me. Watching Rocky did that to me, you know?
Yeah.
You know, because I was already, and I fought a guy who looked like Mr. T. His name was Charlie Archie. I don't know, you ever hear Charlie Archie?
That was at the Jet Center, wasn't it?
I fought him 3 times, and it was a brutal fight the first time. I gave up 33 pounds to him. And then I fought him again in Hawaii, and I stopped him. And then I fought him again in California and stopped him. But so that was like my Rocky 3 story.
Yeah.
I thank God every day for Daryl Teixeira, and he actually died in prison because I went to see him. I wanted to see him. We go to Hawaii every year, and I've been looking for him, and finally somebody found him. So I went to, you know, his relative's house. It was his ex-wife or something, and she gave me the news that he had passed away in prison like a year before that. So I never got to truly thank him for helping me, you know, for turning my life around and for being the catalyst of my life and making me love my life so much that I have, you know, all these years and just walk with pride